Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yani, and I am so excited for this video. So many of you probably don't know that I am a writer. I've been working on a fantasy epic for quite some time now, and I have learned a lot. This is the first book that I've ever written, and when I first started writing this book, I was what the community calls a pantser. Now, a pantser is somebody who forgoes the outlines and the formal structures of plot, and they just write freehand, they just go for it, whatever spews from their heart type of deal. And I thought that I was that kind of person until I tried to write that way, and my writing was a complete disaster. There is such a thing as a first draft to a first draft, and nobody, not even myself, because I burned it, is ever going to see the very first attempts I made to write my book when I had no structure whatsoever. So it has been a lot of trial and error in my journey of writing and figuring out how to write and how to plot a novel. And I'm so excited to have come far along in my journey that I can make this video for you and hopefully smooth out that process and learning curve. Now, this video is split into 3 parts. The first part, we're going to talk about software, how I write, what I write on, how I keep my notes together. The second part is book recommendations on how to plot, how to improve your writing. And the third section is different courses that you can take if you'd like to take a more formalized approach to your learnings. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first part of this video is about software. And what do I mean by software? I mean, where do you actually write? Now, there's some very cool people out there in the world who use like a typewriter or who write by hand, and I love the idea, but I'm a 21st century girl, so I use Google Docs to write. Now, I have heard the controversy over Google Docs. However, it's free, it's accessible, it saves real time, which kind of soothes an anxiety that I have that it's going to crash and I lose all my work. And I can also pull it up from whatever device I'm on if I don't have it on my principal device. So I find that really helpful. Obviously, you can use Word. There's also several softwares that you can pay for as far as your writing goes, and I've definitely looked into investing into one of those. I'm just not there yet, but for now, Google Docs does the job perfectly fine. Word does the job perfectly fine. I don't think that you have to spend money. You do not have to spend money to be a writer. You could write on a napkin, and you're still a writer. So don't feel this pressure to invest if you're not in a position to, or if you're not ready to yet, in which case I'm not ready to invest into a fancy writing program. However, if you are trying to upgrade, there are tons of platforms that you can use to write. One of the most popular writing softwares that you can use is Scrivner. This one I think is possibly the most popular between writers, and it's just very easy to organize your writing because it can separate your chapters, it can separate your sections. It's also very handy in the sense that you can like drag chapters into different sections, which knowing that makes me want to invest in it, because one of the ways that I edit, and one of the things that I find in my own writing that I have to edit the most, is the order that I tend to write things in. So I think possibly I'm going to end up investing in something like this when I finish my first draft. The only real downside to this is that it does not sync. So you have it in the one location and that's it, which is opposite to what I like about using Google Docs. But I really like the fact that you can drag chapters. It's also very neat, very accessible. And I believe it's about $50 a year. So that's one of the most popular platforms that you can use. Another software that you can use to write your book that's actually a little bit newer to the scene, so I don't think as many people are using it, is called LivingWriter. Now, this one has a beautiful interface, and I think it does much of the same things that Scrivener does as far as being able to drag the chapters and rearrange the order. It's very easy to include things like photos if that's something that helps you visualize, or say you have an image at the top of your chapter heads or you're illustrating a children's book. You can also have different revision versions so that you can access different versions of your draft or different versions of your story, and it also syncs real time. to whoever you share it with. So say you're sharing it with an editor or a peer reviewer, then it's very easy for you guys to synchronize, and that one's a really good option as well. This one does come out to a monthly subscription of $10 a month. So those are just two options that you have if you want to pay for software. But again, I don't pay for software. I use Google Docs for the time being. Possibly, most likely in the future, I will invest possibly and probably into LivingWriter just because I really like the interface. But you don't have to right away. I'm not doing it yet because I'm still on my first draft. Once I get through the revision process, I will go ahead. But these are some options for you. In the meantime, Google Doc works fine. Word works fine. Now, do your own research as far as what the controversy is. I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to tell you to use it or not to use it. I've chosen to use it anyways, at least for that first draft. So just do your background research when you're making that kind of decision. But those are some writing softwares that you can use for your actual writing. Something that I do pay for, though, is Obsidian. I love Obsidian. It's so cool. I'm a very visually driven person, and what Obsidian does is it allows you to create a map of ideas and then see how everything ties in together, and then you can hyperlink it. I love this. It makes me so happy. I really like the scattered look, so I don't go out of my way to rearrange the dots, but you could rearrange your dots in chronological order if you liked. I definitely don't use this to my full advantage, but I love Obsidian. It really just helps me visualize the way that different elements of my story are connecting. That's where I put all of the characteristics of my characters. That's where I connect the different acts of my story, and it really, really helps me to just move between place to place. It's also super cool, super futuristic. It's just such an awesome way to map where your story is, where your characters are, where the arcs are going, and see how everything is kind of connecting to one another. And that is why it's one of my favorite softwares to use, not just for the writing process, but just for like linking all the plots and ideas. Now, I wouldn't say that Obsidian is priced higher than anything else. I believe it comes down to about $8 to $10 every single month, but you do have to pay annually. So if you pay for the year, it's probably going to come out to around 120 USD, maybe a little bit more after tax. So it is a little bit more upfront, but I have personally chosen to invest in Obsidian over specific writing software just because it's so helpful to organize different elements of your story and see how everything ties in together. And it's been really fun to be able to visualize it and put some correlation between my ideas before they're even written. So that's definitely why I recommend it, and one of the things that I use to help me push forward, especially during a period of writer's block. I also love using Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is free and you can just search up so many ideas and images. And it's just, I try to have like different Pinterest boards for different moods, and it can be something, because I'm not always the best at being descriptive in my writing. So I'm like, how do you describe, for example, a tavern? And sometimes I will just go on Pinterest and look up a tavern and just be like, okay, what's even in a tavern? Some chairs, some tables, XYZ, or just try to get like a mood board going. So, and that's free. So I think Pinterest is also a really cool tool to be able to kind of collage your way. You can kind of take some of those images, also put it into Obsidian, and then hyperlink the images too, so you can have like a visual storytelling. I think that's super fun. I know some people still want to use Tumblr, whatever you have to use, but I think Pinterest is awesome for that purpose because there's so much range, and you can really narrow it down to your particular mood that you want and create private boards and whatever it is you want to do. So definitely don't sleep on Pinterest. Okay, so next we are going to move on to the book portion of this video. These books have probably had the biggest impact because before I was a writer, I was not a writer. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to write a book or outline a book, and I was completely lost and outside of my element, and these books really, really helped me figure it out. So let's just go ahead and get started. Coming in strong at number 1, I have Save the Cat Writes a Novel. This book saved my life. This book saved my life. I have to say that twice because it's just so true. So in this book, the author, Jessica Brody, she basically just walks you through the 3-act structure and what that looks like and how you can structure your novel in the same way. Truly saved my life. I really cannot say it enough times. I tabbed every single section. It just helped me understand the 3-act structure. And before I knew the 3-act structure, I knew nothing. So I really owe so much of my discipline and my success in even writing my first draft to the fact that this book helped me understand how to break it up into 3 acts. Now, this book is specifically for standalone. It doesn't really cover specific genres or specific tropes, but it does include numerous examples that you can pull upon and really apply to your own writing. What I did when I read this book is I just completely wrote down what was going to happen in my book, because for the most part, I did know A, B, C, D, E. Like I knew what was going to happen in my book from the beginning page to the end, and I just knew nothing in the middle. And when you don't know anything in the middle, that's kind of a problem, because you don't just have a start and an end. You need to get from point A to point Z. And this helped me understand that there's particular beats that I have to hit. And I still haven't figured out everything, but I have so much more of an idea now. And I really, really highly recommend this to anybody who has any problem with outlining, with plotting. I mean, if you are somebody that doesn't like that, great for you. But if you're like me and you were lost in the sauce, this is it. And I just think this is such a great resource for first-time writers who don't really understand how you outline. Now, the second book is a little bit funny. It's a little bit of a niche. So I mentioned that in Save the Cat, it's not genre specific. And in my book, there is a little bit of a romance. And I'm like, okay, now I need to structure the romance. So I learned about myself that I am a structure girl. I need structure. I need outlines. There's a lot of spontaneity and passion and you know, surprises that comes along within my outlines, but I need that outline. And I'm like, okay, Save the Cat helped me so much that I'm like, I need the version for love. And that didn't exist except for one woman who was called Gwen Hayes, who wrote this lovely little pamphlet called Romancing the Beat, which basically does what Save the Cat Writes a Novel did, and it breaks down a romantic arc into little beats. And also this helped me a lot. I was able to use the information that I found out through the Save the Cat novels and this little pamphlet, Romancing the Beat, which basically just breaks up what a romance arc needs to look like to be effective regardless of the genre that it's in. And I was really able to integrate it, and I was making sure that I hit these beats within those beats, and that has helped me be really successful. So this is also one that I recommend, and I only say that it's silly because it's just a cute little pamphlet. I mean, look at the picture in the back. It's super cute. You can't even find this in stores. I don't know if this is self-published or just a bit of a smaller publication, but it was written by Gwen Hayes, and she helped me out. This is the only book like this that I've been able to find. It's very clear. It's very precise. It breaks it down. It gives examples. I was able to pretty much read this in one sitting and immediately apply it to my work. So that's Romancing the Beat, story structure for romance novels. I'm not writing a romance novel, so this is just a good structure for depicting love in a story. The next book is called Writing Tools, 55 Essential Strategies for Every Writer by Roy Peter Clark. This is really good. This is very excellently well written. So basically, this is broken up into little chapters with practical writing advice and some writing activities at the end that really help you improve your writing regardless of genre, regardless of if it's a novel or a short story. Just really practical steps you can use to improve your writing. And I really love this. You can read it one chapter at a time. My biggest struggle with this book is trying to memorize everything so that when I'm writing real time, I can recall it. But it's not that big of a deal. I think it's a really wonderful resource. You can find this in most stores. This is one of those that's like more readily available. And it's just super, super neat. For example, Tool 21, know when to back off and when to show off. And then it just kind of gives you examples. What does that mean? When it's too much? When should you like pull back a little bit? And it just really gives you some practical advice and steps that you can use and implement into your writing to just significantly improve the quality. And I really, really love this. You can take from it what you need, leave what you don't, but it's all good advice. I've yet to read anything here that I'm like, no thanks. Like, it's all good advice, and none of it interferes with any genre. It doesn't interfere with how you might personally like to write. It's just good, practical advice. So, writing tools, definitely recommend it. This next one is a cute little book. I feel like this is such a cute gift that you could give to any writer in your life. It's called Literary Devices. I found this at a local Barnes and Noble, so I think you can just look for it in person as a cute novelty. But it basically breaks up the actual literary devices that are found in the English language and gives you examples. I think it's just a cute resource and a good educational background for any writer. There's tons of things that I've never heard of. Like, I think most people know what a metaphor is, know what an oxymoron is. But do you know what an addomnation is? See, I probably didn't even say that right. But it basically gives you the exact English terms for tons of different types of literary devices, such as accumulation. And accumulation is when you group a bunch of words or phrases with passion and frustration. Did you know that? I didn't know that until I read this book. And it also gives you more tools, and it broadens your scope as far as how you can express yourself in your writing that maybe you didn't know about. Maybe you didn't know that that was a specific word for that, and now you can study it. I think it's just a cute little thing to have as a writer, and I would definitely gift it to any writer, and I would want anybody who is in school to learn all of these, because I was not taught that there was all these different literary devices. The next book I have is The Art of Brevity by Faulkner. It's a book about crafting a very short story. Now, I am not crafting a very short story. I'm crafting a duology and a fantasy epic. And by nature of it being an epic, it's not a short story. But what I find that this book does really well is it teaches you how to just say enough and not overdo it. And you might have a writing style that likes long sentences, likes to be very flowery, and that's where I feel like you can integrate what you learn in writing tools with what you learn in the art of brevity and just find a really nice happy medium. But this book is really, really good for just not wasting a word, just understanding what it is that you have to say, how to say it most impactfully. And it's a book that's written very narratively as well, so it doesn't really read like nonfiction. And I definitely recommend it for people who are just looking to write without wasting words, which, is never a bad thing. So that's The Art of Brevity by Faulkner. The last book is A Dictionary of Angels by Gustav Davidson. I have to laugh a little bit because this is not like the other books. This book is not about writing. This book is just about names. I know that there's some people who will use like a book of baby names. That is perfectly fine, but I'm writing a fantasy, so I have a book of every angel that's ever existed across all religions and mythologies, and I pull from this to name things because I suck at naming things. That is not my strength at all. So I just think this is a really helpful tool for me. It gives you all the names of all the angels across every religion, across every single myth, and it gives you the roots as far as it's Hebrew, it's Greek, it's Christian, and it also gives you an explanation to what the name means. So if you're like me and you like names to have meanings and symbolism, this is a very good book. Again, some people use like baby names. That's fine. I use this book of angels and I think it's super, super neat. So that's just one that I wanted to kind of throw in there for laughs and giggles. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot of books. I think that was probably the biggest section in this video. The last section of this video is different courses and modules that you can take. Now, the ones that I'm about to mention here are paid for. That's just kind of what I know. However, University of YouTube University is free. There are so many incredible writing resources all over the internet, all over YouTube that are completely free. So again, do not feel like you have to spend money. But just for the section of this video that's just about courses, I do want to recommend two specific courses. Now, I do have a Masterclass account, and within that Masterclass, I did take a fantasy and sci-fi writing course from a writer called Jeminson, and she was really awesome. She really broke down the fantasy and sci-fi genres, how you can write it, how you can do different things within there to really build up your world. She gave tons of exercises. She was really really, really awesome to listen to. Like, she has such a nice and soothing voice. So that's a class that I really, really recommend on Masterclass. I also took the Margaret Atwood class on creative writing. Margaret Atwood is a genius. As you know, she wrote The Handmaid's Tale and tons of other novels. So she gave her own course as well to writing, to how she approaches the craft, to what you should pay attention to in your narratives. And that was one that I really recommend as well. Masterclass has a bunch of different courses. I have not taken all of them, so I am weary to recommend anything that I haven't taken, but the catalog is expansive. So there's tons of resources there for writing. But I specifically recommend the sci-fi and fantasy one from N.K. Jeminson, and also the Margaret Atwood creative writing class. Another course that I do want to recommend is not from Masterclass, but is from Coursera. I haven't finished it yet, but I am super excited to be taking it. It's already so impactful, and the course is offered by the University of Michigan, and it's called Good with Words. It's just a course about how to structure your words, how to form sentences, how to be intentional, impactful, purposeful, how to arrange your words in the way that illustrates your point best. And I am so excited to be taking that course. Now, I haven't finished it yet, just being fully transparent, but I am enjoying it so far. And Coursera is another platform like Masterclass that you can use that has tons of resources on writing. This is just one of the ones that I'm taking first. But again, and I do want to emphasize this for anyone who's watching this and maybe feeling a little bit stressed, you do not have to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for anything. There's tons of courses and information available for free all over the internet. But if you are able to invest into your writing education a little bit more, if you want to invest in your writing education in a formalized way, Masterclass is awesome, and so is Coursera. Coursera is offered by a university class, so it is more like an actual school with assignments, with graded work, with syllabuses, versus Masterclass is more something that you can kind of listen to on your car ride, which is what I've done. But either way, it's super awesome. And those are just some of the courses that I recommend if you want to take a formalized approach to learning and to writing. But again, you don't have to. YouTube is free. The internet is free. There's tons of available resources. The library is free. All of the books that I mentioned could be found on the library as well, so you can always reference those and improve yourself and your writing through those means. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love getting to share all of my knowledge, all of my expertise. It's been a lot of trial and error on my end, really reading all these books, trying these courses, trying these softwares. I've come a long way as a writer, and I know that when I started, I was lost, I was confused, I was overwhelmed. So I really hope that this video helps somebody, and that maybe you discover one or two different things that you would like to try, or maybe a book that you would like to read. Either way, we're all in it together. We're all writers. If you're a writer and you're in this video, please join the squad, join the family. I really want to, connect with more of you guys, and I'm so excited to have you here. Please feel free to let me know anything that you use or that you recommend to improve your writing or just your organization. I'd really love to know it, and I hope that you stick around. I will see you guys next time. Bye.